Hello. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, April, how you doing? Welcome. The closer I get to you, the more you make me see. Hello, Hazel. Hey, Rhonda from Trinidad. By giving you all you have. Your love have captured me. Hello, the zoo. How you doing, Patricia? Over and over again, I try to tell myself that we could never be more than friends. And all the night while I knew it was real. The way you make me see. I can't see you unless you show me yourself. If you want to come on the screen for a minute. No, April, I can't see you. Hello, Dr. Lucky. How you doing? Time just seems to fly when you're in the right relationship. Leading you more and more. Hello, Kimmy. How you doing? How you doing, Coffee? Let's give love a try. Hey. Sweeter and sweeter, love grows. It's heaven there for those who understand the tricks of times. And they let their heart of love define their true love in a special, special way. The closer I get to you, the closer that I get to you, the better your view of me. The relationship comes to a point where I don't hold nothing back. Your love has captured me. Hey, Brian, how you doing, bro? That love has that capturing power. Over and over again, that's that self-talk. I try to tell myself that we... In other words, watch that. Guys try to talk themselves out of being in love. What we got is real. It's real. It's real. The closer I get, the closer I get. It makes me see. It makes her drop her guard when she see that you can trust you with her love. It takes us into captivity. That's the closer I... Then he say, me too, baby. Well, welcome to Relationship Tips with Bishop Robert Joyce. Thank you so very much for joining us tonight. Go ahead and invite somebody. Go ahead and let them know that we're about to get started with our relationship tips for tonight. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be a time of fun. It's going to be a time of excitement. It's going to be a time of information. It's a time of sharing, As always, eat the meat and spit out the bones. And, like those deep freezers you used to have a long time ago, you can freeze some of this for later on. It will never lose its flavor or its tough. One thing about truth is lasting. It does not go away. It has a elasticity in it that it lasts a long, long time. All right. And so tonight we're going to talk about how to get closer. It's very interesting when we start talking about relationships. We know how to fight. People know how to fight. They know how to tear up relationships. They know how to be problematic in relationships. And we know how to fall out of love. We can tell you things about how the relationship began to deteriorate. So what we want to do tonight is tell you how to get closer. Here's a relationship that you want to increase. And so we're going to give you some tools tonight that will help you cultivate this relationship and make it better and make it stronger and make it more intense and make it more powerful and make it more noticeable. Okay. Now, one of the things that people sometimes do, they think that people with successful relationships just happen. They just happen to be lucky. They just happen to be blessed. They just happen to be, all these cliches. Okay. But the truth of the matter is that you do have to work with your relationship. And there are some tools that you have to actively pull out of your toolbox. If you want your grass greener, you got to do a little bit more work. Okay. Even if you buy the top of the line grass and sod and just sit it out in your yard, that's okay for a season, but sooner or later, you got to do some work with it. And so if you're going to have a successful relationship, we're going to talk about the things that you have to do in order to get closer in that relationship. Okay. All right. Now let me just say something. If you're in a solid relationship right now, there are some things that happen that would cause the two of you to become solid. Okay. And so what I want to do is I want to kind of mesh a couple of things. One, I want to give you some questions that you have to ask your significant other in order for the relationship to grow. Okay. And so you have to be transparent. You have to understand yourself. You got to know what you want out of a relationship. You got to know what you're willing to invest in a relationship. You have to, and so there are several things. When I look back at relationships that have been successful, how did they get to that particular spot? Okay. And there are certain things that you do or that you say to let a person know that this relationship is significant. One thing is validate their efforts. When a person is pursuing you and they seem to be putting an effort in, then you have to validate that effort. One of the things that'll discourage a man quicker than anything else, he may go out and do something, or she may go out and do something special for you. But if you don't validate that behavior will not continue. Remember this: what gets rewarded gets done. So if you reward, let's see here. If you reward that behavior, then you will find that that behavior will continue. Now, again, when you're beginning in your relationships, one of the things that happens is that you're learning each other's love language. So we may be speaking different languages at that point, and we don't know it. So that's, for instance, if her language is if your language is what we call it, communication, and you are trying to show love to her by coming over and cutting her grass. Well, that does not come across as love because it's not a language. But you don't know that in the early stages. So you have to say, well, I appreciate your what do you call that? I appreciate your efforts. But that didn't really get my attention. Okay, so we have to learn to validate that particular effort. We have to validate that effort, even though that's not necessarily the best way to communicate to me. Okay, all right. So there are things that we can do in a relationship to make it better. I think that one of the reasons that we date certain individuals is because they are smart. And I think that in order to do that, you have to tell them sometimes, you are smart. Ladies, men have an ego. Okay. So you have to figure out a way to feed that ego. You're not creating a monster. You're supporting a need that he had, a natural need that he had. And by saying to him, you are so smart. it feels that need that he has, okay? Or just like a woman. Men, you must understand that women want their opinion valued. And so even if I'm not going to do what she has suggested, I want to acknowledge, hey, you are so smart. You are intelligent. I'm going to do it a little different this time, but I really value your opinion. And I want to make sure that you continue to give me your opinion. All right. Because, when you have a helper, an assistant, that individual sooner or later is going to say some things and do some things that will make you a better person because of it. Okay, so those are some things that you do. I mean, in a relationship, at some juncture, it's okay to say, I trust you. Now all of us with trust issues, we don't want to say that for fear of being taken advantage of. But the truth of the matter is, at some point in time, I have to. It has to come out of my mouth and say, hey, I really trust you. I trust you in my heart. I trust you with my finances. I trust you with my home. I trust you with my car. I trust you with my kids. I trust you with my, oh boy, those trust, it causes those guards to be dropped down so the relationship can flourish. Okay. We don't have to be worried about that whole idea of trust. It's a settled issue. I trust you. All right. If we're going to get to a point where we have a strong, solid relationship, then one of the things that has to come to is that I chose you above everyone else because no one else compares to you. You know what the OJ should say? You're my darling, darling baby. I mean, you got to put it in a place where no, I'm off the market. In real estate, if you see a home that you want, you have to put a deposit on it. Well, when you put a deposit on it, it takes it off the market. So it's a legal binding document that takes the house off the market, so no one else can purchase it. Okay, so when you're in a relationship with someone, you want to come to a place where you tell them no one else compares to you. I'm taken off the market. Now I'm going to wear my ring if I get a ring, but if I don't get a ring, I still got a ring in my heart. If I don't have a ring, if I'm taken off the market, I'm taken off the market. Okay, now let's go over to what our main subject tonight, which is how do we get closer. I'm gonna give you some questions. We're gonna have a question and answer kind of situation, and you can respond if you so desire, or you can answer, or we can get some feedback if you care to, of this whole idea of how to get closer. Watch what happens here. You're gonna ask these questions to your significant other, and it will cause there to be a blending and a meshing. You start asking questions like this. What about our relationships that makes you really happy? What do we do? What about us and our uniqueness that causes you to be really happy? These are questions that are asked that does not generate a yeah, no. You can't be spiritual. One of the problems sometimes with good, solid Christians, and I know I have all types of individuals listening to this, saved, unsaved, Holy Ghost filled, no Holy Ghost, prophetic, non-prophetic, Pentecostal, Baptist, Methodist. I've got all kinds of people listening to it. So when I talk about sometimes with Christians, especially two committed Christians, their answer to everything is the Lord. And the truth of the matter is, you want God to bless your relationships, but after God blesses your relationship, you still got to put some work in it. Remember what God said to the children of Israel? He says, I have given you the promised land. And everybody was shouting, yeah, praise the Lord, hallelujah. He said, yeah, but you got to go out and kill the giants. I gave you the land, but I left the giants on it. So God blesses us with a good woman or blesses us with a good man, but then it's our responsibility to take the gift that God has given you and make it better. Do you know what God says? If you give him back the gift and it's worse than it was, or it's the same, he calls you an unprofitable and a slothful servant. So when God gives you this woman as your gift, he's giving you this person as a gift, when you give her back to the Lord, she should be better. Woo! Ain't nobody saying nothing. Y'all don't give me no amen, no lights, no likes. Are y'all asleep? Is it a storm to cut y'all phone off? Your minutes up? What's up? Give me a little love out there. All right. So you got to ask the question, what about our relationship makes you really happy? All right. And what that does is it calls you to think through the relationship. What makes our relationship unique? What makes our relationship fun? What makes our relationship life-giving? Okay? So you have to ask those questions. And as you answer that particular question, it causes you to think. All right? It causes you to open up. And it gives you an opportunity to grow closer. Okay? Here's another good question for you to ask your significant other. Okay? What is your biggest fear for this relationship? What is your biggest fear? Okay? And I think that gives us a little insight into our psyche when we understand the fear that the individual might be facing. Okay? What is the fear? Is it the fear that I'm going to leave you? Is it fear that I'm going to cheat on you? Is it fear that I'm not going to live up to the hype, or the fear that we're not going to get old together? I'm going to gain weight. You're going to gain weight. Whatever, And so I think that those fears, some of them are real, and some of them are just my imagination. Your mind playing tricks on you. The devil doing what he does, and that is give you something to worry about or something to be fearful. They had an acronym called FEAR, false evidence appearing real. And so you and I, when we talk about this whole idea of fear, then we can adjust it and we can put some things in place that will keep this fear from happening. Okay, are you with me? Did I lose anybody? Am I still there? Is anybody out there? I'm not getting any feedback. Did lightning cut me off? Somebody say something. Brian, says something if you're still there. Am I? It says I'm live, but I don't have any interaction whatsoever. Hello. Okay, all right. I see a couple of dots coming up. Okay, all right. Let's keep moving. All right. I'm not one of them kind of guys who like to hear myself talk. If ain't nobody listening, I'm gonna cut off and go get me something to drink. Give me a little Kool-Aid, little popcorn, something like that. Okay, all right. Here we go. All right. Okay. Sometimes, in order to keep the honey in the honeymoon, you got to ask questions, okay? Here's another great question that you should ask your significant other. What made you fall in love with me? What made you fall in love with me? Okay, so those kind of questions requires transparency. It requires self reflection, okay, introspective of oneself. And so, okay, I fell in love with you because you were my rescuer, or I could always depend on you, or because you were always in my corner. You always were there when I needed you. You were always a person that said the right thing. So all of these reasons helps me know and keep to the forefront things that were very valuable in our relationship. Okay, I want to know when I'm hitting a spot. All right, it's like, let's just say when it comes to analytics in basketball, they can pull out a chart and tell the NBA players what angle that they shoot best from, what the percentages go up or down. So they can create an offense that will get the best out of them. In a relationship, if I know what is our strength, what is our drawing card, then I can make sure that I'm always doing what pleases you in that particular area, okay? And so reflecting on what made you fall in love with me. See, one of the things that happens sometimes especially with men, we are conquerors, and once we've conquered, sometimes we'll stop doing what it was that we did, And the same thing with women. Sometimes ladies do things that get our attention. She cooks for us, or she talks nice to us, or she supports us, or she dresses a certain way. And then after we say I do, or we're in a committed relationship, you stop doing those things, okay? So what made you love me? What made me love you is very, very important, poignant point to make, a question to ask if we're going to keep getting closer and closer in this relationship. Okay? All right. Here's another good one. What did you think when you first met me? All right. Those are the kind of questions that you ask your significant other. What did you think? And again, when you ask these questions, you get a chance to get some insight and understanding and perception of your first engagement. Okay. Well, I thought you were the life of the party, or I thought you were stuck up, or I thought you were, going to come to me. You didn't approach me, whatever it was. And so whenever you think through all of these kinds of things, it makes the relationship more alive, and makes it more. It requires more thought rather than, because a lot of times in a relationship you'll get to men, because of the way we were designed, we'll go to Remember when boys were little and little girls start making full sentences and words before boys. Boys want to get a little plane over in the corner, go, and in a relationship, if we're not careful, later on we'll just grunt, okay, all right, and then we don't really think, we don't talk, okay? And so these kinds of conversation questions make men require them to go from their left brain to their right brain and get some information and come back and have a solid conversation. Well, I don't know what's wrong with my Facebook. I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with my Facebook, but it looked like I only got one or two people on. And I don't know what happened. Maybe I'll just cut off and cut back on and see if that was the problem. Maybe I'll try that and I'll come back. See you in a minute.